Joining us now, Aron. He is the Director of Russian Studies at the American Enterprise Institute, and he's also the author of the forthcoming book, Roads to the Temple, Truth, Memory, Ideas, and Ideals in the Making of the Russian Revolution, 1871 to 1991. Boy, Aron, you are the man to have to talk about this today. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, it's a pleasure.
So you hear the president talk about President Putin and saying that sometimes they slip into a Cold War mentality, and he says to him, hey, that's the past. Do you get a sense that President Obama really understands Russia?
Well, he, I think, understands one thing, that because he wants to reduce American nuclear arsenal by another third, at least, Russia is an indispensable partner in this affair, because otherwise he would be forced to do it unilaterally, and that may cause problems. So what he wanted from Russia all this time is another arms reduction agreement. And for its sake, he has been wanting to, or willing to swallow a great deal of stuff.
Just for the sake of an agreement. And actually, and to that end, Aron, he was going to have a one-on-one with President Putin before the G20 summit, which will be in St. Petersburg, first time Russia has ever hosted the G20 summit. And he has now canceled that summit.
The bilat. Yeah.
He has canceled his meeting with Putin. Aron, you said that's a mistake. Why?
Well, it's a mistake because, Putin is playing a complex game here. He, on the one hand, for the past year and a half, we've been seeing and hearing from Russia some of the crudest anti-American propaganda I remember since I lived in the Soviet Union in the 1970s. Our ambassador has been harassed, Michael McFaul. America was accused of trying to undermine Russia and literally paying the anti-Putin demonstrators. And Americans were accused of maiming and killing Russian children that they adopted. That's just examples. They also expelled the United States Agency for International Development after 20 years and several $1 billion of American taxpayers in help. So all of this has been accumulating, and now on top of that, there's Snowden. But so with all of this, I believe it's a mistake to go to that G20 summit at all. I mean, yes, you could say that this is all financial and this is international. Well, to Putin, it's not financial and international.
It's a stage show.
It's domestic and it's political. The economy is slowing down. People are restive. Mass demonstrations on the street a year ago. People are grousing about rising prices, utility prices, deteriorating education, health care. People are not happy. So you create these types of diversions, you create these types of shows. And what matters to Russia, and that's been true, by the way, under the Soviets as well, is only one country. And that's America, and only one person in America, and that's the American president. So what we have here is the American president still going there. Putin is still the host. He's smiling. They're smiling back at him. And the Russians are not going to delve into, and for that matter, CNN or the world audience, are not going to figure out, okay, well, he's there, but he did not hold the summit with Putin 2 days before. Well, therefore, boy, did he show it to Putin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't imagine that Vladimir Putin is going to lose one moment of sleep over the fact that the president has canceled the bilateral meeting. But what is it that you think that the Russians really are up to, and what is it that they want on the world stage? I just want to point out one thing. We're seeing a lot more aggressive action by the Russian military of late. For example, the Bear bombers have been routinely coming very close to the United States in sort of a provocative action. What's up with all that?
Well, they've been doing the Bear bombers, I think, for a number of years now. It's not new, but yes, this is a throwback, like the president said. In that sense, he was right. A throwback to the Cold War. Well, what they're up to, the real question is, this is an authoritarian regime now. There's no doubt about this, and so the real question is to ask is, what does the regime want, not what the Russia wants. And the regime wants two things. It wants to create short-term stability at the expense of a longer-term good for the country. That's a typical authoritarian thing, right? I stay in power at any cost, whatever, and come whatever may. And the second thing is, again, as almost any authoritarian, especially in the third world emergent countries, what's the best way to boost your own sagging popularity? Stick thumbs in America's eyes. I mean, I think this is all of this taken together. So no more agreements on Iran. Absolutely horrible position on Syria, where Russia supports the regime that's slaughtering its own people by the thousands. And we are winding down in Afghanistan, where the Russians were helpful because they don't want the Taliban on their borders.
Right.
So they were not doing us any favors. As a result, Russia wants less and less from us. We want less and less from Russia. And in these types of interactions, Putin decided, what the hell, there's really not much downside to portray himself as a defender of Mother Russia against this constantly scheming, vicious American enemy. In other words, we're back to the 1950s.
All right, so were you surprised when Edward Snowden was granted asylum for 1 year?
No, no. This is very typical of where Putin is going. And remember, the way he described it on the Russian...
But what was going on during the time that they were trying to decide what he should do? I mean, there was a long time that he was at the airport. What was going on there?
Well, I think one thing was going on. They were copying the 4 hard disk drives.
Yeah, you may be right.
Now, maybe they're behind in technology. Maybe it took them a month. No, but seriously, of course they copied everything. Of course they interrogated him. I think there was a moment hesitation, and I tell you where I think we totally dropped the ball. Once he landed in Sheremetyevo Airport, the only thing that could have prevented this embarrassment for the U.S. is a direct call from Obama to Putin and say, Vladimir, listen, we're talking, man to man, nobody's listening. If you grant him asylum, I'm not coming to G20. And this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
Things are going to get very, very frosty between us. Do you really want to aggravate America over this man? Well, this call did not...
No, instead he did the opposite. He sort of shrugged and said, I shouldn't have to call them,
That's exactly
which was really sort of condescending, wasn't it?
We did actually even worse, yes. Okay, the president does not call one-on-one privately, right? Instead, you have Secretary of State John Kerry, who issued this unbelievable statement, something like, well, we appeal to our Russian partners. It's a common decency.
It was cold borscht is what it was.
And that always works with the Russians.
Leon,
right?
Aaron, we've got to roll.
Not only that, it's not just the Russians. This is the ABC of diplomacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
You do not publicly ask for things that you know the other side is going to refuse you. Do it privately or don't do it at all.
Leon, Aaron, it's great to have you, but we have to roll. We're already over. But really wonderful to have you, seriously.
Thanks,
He's the
Leon.
Director of Russian Studies at the American Enterprise Institute. Leon.